marine emergency.
The worst disaster at sea in decades. 33 people on board the cargo ship El Faro when it vanished last fall.
33 souls of our loved ones, and it's their final resting place.
4 of them from Maine: Captain Michael Davidson, Dylan Mecklin, Danielle Randolph, and Michael Holland.
He'll always be in my heart.
Tonight, the I-Team explores a mystery 3 miles beneath the Atlantic.
There's so many unknowns in this tragedy.
From the captain's heartbreaking final call for help.
Oh, man. The clock is ticking.
To the crew's last minutes and the violent end to their voyage.
When that ship went down, I guarantee you she went down fighting for everything that child's got.
The enormous challenges in this unprecedented investigation.
They're doing what they need to do to hopefully prevent this from happening again.
How this catastrophe could reshape operations on the ocean and the impact for future mariners in Maine. Live on Fox 23, El Faro, the final voyage.
Good evening, I'm John Cresos, live in Jacksonville, Florida, where the cargo ship El Faro left 1 year ago in these waters on the way to Puerto Rico. The ship never made it.
I'm Marissa Bodner at Maine Maritime Academy in Castine, where the 4 Mainers on board were trained how to navigate an unforgiving sea.
With the capital in conflict over his angry voicemail and comments called racially charged, an apology from Governor Paul LePage.
It should have never happened, but it did.
And an admission that it might be time for a change.
You know, maybe it is time to move on.
We are live in Augusta with team coverage of what's next for the governor and the state, as once again his so-called tell-it-like-it-is style gets him in trouble. And good evening, everybody. I'm Greg Lagerquist, live at Capitol Park in Augusta. Of course, the Capitol in a whirlwind again today, involving controversies and the governor. From comments about drugs and race to a profanity-laced voicemail message, now to an apology from the governor today, and speculation as well started by the governor himself that he might resign. We begin with live team coverage tonight, and CBS 13's Marissa Bodner all the way in eastern Maine in Washington County, where she tracked down the governor this afternoon to ask the tough questions. Marissa, let's get right to it. What is the governor telling you about whether he will or will not resign?
Hey there, Greg. The governor tells me rumors of his leaving office are exaggerated. However, it is something he's thinking about moving forward. We did catch up with him today here in Washington County, where he was here to tour a new business that he helped bring to Maine.
I am looking at every option available to my family.
Hours after speculating on the radio whether or not he'll finish his second term, Governor Paul LePage confirms resignation is one of many options he's considering. This comes days after he left a profanity-laced voicemail for a state representative who allegedly called him a racist.
I've always been my own person. I only have to be accountable to God and my family, and that's the most important thing in my life. And if the Maine People's Alliance were not attacking my daughter as badly as they are, I probably would never have considered ever resigning. And it might be that if she can hang through, we're going to fight it through.
Despite the controversy, the governor spent the entire day in Washington County, visiting the new St. Croix Tissue Company at the Woodland Pulp Mill, a business adding 2 machines and 80 jobs to the area. All this going on, but you're still here, business as usual.
Listen, it's about creating jobs. And when you go to the supermarket, please buy Fiora. It's made in Maine.
What were you doing up here today? Now, you just heard the governor mention the Maine People's Alliance as the group he says is harassing and attacking his family members. We did reach out to them for comment this afternoon. A spokesperson says that's not true at all. He says this is just another desperate lie the governor is telling to distract from this latest incident, and their group, for one, is glad to hear he's considering resigning. For now, live in Washington County, Marissa Bodner, CBS 13 News. Back to you.
All right, absolutely, Marissa. We'll continue to follow that. Meantime, that's all began the speculation about whether or not the governor would resign, with the governor's comments himself on his weekly radio show appearance today. Also on that appearance, for the first time, he offered an apology to the person who was the target of that profanity-laced voicemail message. We continue our team coverage live in Westbrook with Brad Rogers with more on that part of the story. Brad. Well, he's certainly been consistent with that message, Brad. Thanks so much. Now, a top Democratic leader is also responding to all of this today. Here's what House Democratic leader Jeff McCabe told CBS 13 this afternoon.
The governor needs to address what he continues to say. He needs to address his behavior, and he needs to also address the cause of that behavior. As I said in my interview yesterday or the day before, I'm not in the medical profession, but it's clear the governor needs to seek professional help.
Now, Republicans are also reacting and responding to all of this as well today. They're going to be holding a closed-door caucus here at the Capitol in just about an hour or so from right now. I'm joined now by CBS 13's Katie Sampson. And Katie, so far today, Republicans have been pretty quiet on this today.
Our son was assaulted by a teacher. A teacher duct taped our son's mouth.
Parents outraged and demanding answers, claiming a teacher silenced their child 4 years ago.
Why are the people that are supposed to be protecting our kids get away with it? It's not fair.
The new controversy compelling them to speak up.
Scandal after scandal after scandal, and it needs to stop.
Right now, that family is bringing those allegations to CBS 13. They say they had to come forward because they felt their case was mishandled in part by the superintendent of SAD 6.
And that superintendent is currently being called into question for allegedly hiring his own son, breaking the district's nepotism policy. We have team coverage of these scandals rocking the school district, including Jennifer Long. She is following the ongoing investigation.
But we begin with CBS 13's Marissa Bodner live with the incident that one family is now making public years later.
Look at what's happening. Look at what's happening.
Donald Trump's third trip to Maine is met with demonstrations.
People in support and against the Republican presidential candidate made their voices heard in Portland today. CBS 13 is on your side with team coverage of the businessman's visit to Portland, the first one since he officially accepted the party's nomination.
Let's begin with CBS 13's John Chrysos, who sat down with Trump before his rally.
And just minutes before Donald Trump went on stage, I got to talk with him about many different subjects. We started with the topic of why he decided to come to Maine for the third time this year, a state that hasn't voted for the Republican presidential candidate since George H.W. Bush. I also asked him what he would do to create jobs here in Maine and across the country when he himself manufactures many of his products outside of the country. Maine hasn't voted for the Republican presidential candidate since 1988. Do you think you have a chance of getting electoral votes here in Maine?
Well, we just got some polling, and it's just very good. I mean, we're hearing tremendous things. You see, we always have a sold-out place, but we do sort of everywhere. We've had a lot of them. We had big ones in Florida this weekend. But we think we're going to do very well up here.
You often talk about creating jobs as a business guy. I think the latest numbers say 94 million Americans are not in the workforce. Here in Maine specifically, we have fewer people working than we did 10 years ago. What could you do as president specifically to create jobs in Maine and across the country?
Well, I'm going to bring jobs back. I mean, we're losing. You look at Maine as an example where we are, but New England, and you look at Ohio, what's happened, and Michigan is disastrous what's going on. I just left Pennsylvania, same thing. The jobs are leaving. They were all going to Mexico.
There were some small business owners who actually got together yesterday here and said that they wouldn't be able to support you because you make your products out of the country. How do you win over small business owners? And if president, would you bring manufacturing of your products, your shirts, your ties, your clothing back to the United States?
Well, I would, but one of the reasons I'm outside of the country for some product, not much, I try and buy as much as possible here. We don't make it here anymore. For the most part, we don't make it here anymore.
And coming up tonight at 6, I also ask Donald Trump about a new poll that's out that shows him trailing Hillary Clinton by 10 points. I'll also ask him about some recent comments that the President Obama made about Donald Trump, saying that he is unfit to be president. You'll want to stick around at 6 and hear how Donald Trump answers that question and that criticism from the president. For now, reporting live in downtown Portland, John Chrysos, CBS 13 News.
Both presidential campaigns are spending time in New England today. Donald Trump is set to host a rally in Laconia in just a little while. And Democratic vice presidential candidate Tim Kaine also spent part of the day in the Granite State before heading to Maine. CBS 13's Jennifer Long is live at the jetport right now. And Jen, we understand that the plane had just landed just a short time ago.
Yeah, Greg, you can see it right behind me. Tim Kaine is here in Maine. We are just seeing his staff coming out the plane, and we are waiting for him to deplane himself. He landed about maybe 10 minutes ago here at the Portland Jetport. Now, there are just a few details that we know about his visit to Maine this evening. We know that after landing here, he will be heading to a private fundraiser at an undisclosed location. Again, minimal details for us here and minimal press availability. So it looks like he is just getting off the plane here in Portland. As we get any new details on this visit this evening, we'll of course bring it to you. But vice presidential candidate Tim Kaine is here in Maine. We'll be following what he's doing this evening. For now, we're live in Portland. Jennifer Long, CBS 13 News. We'll send it back to you.
All right, we see Portland Mayor Ethan Stringling greeting him there. Okay, we look forward to your report and more on his visit coming up. Thanks, Jen. It is Decision Day in Maine, New Hampshire, and across the nation. Looking live in Portland right now. With only a few hours left until the voting ends, polling places are still packed with people casting their ballots. They are deciding on a number of things, including who's going to be the next president of the United States for the next 4 years.
There are also several divisive ballot questions, from legalizing recreational marijuana in Maine to raising the minimum wage. Our crews are on your side, live in the field, covering the local issues throughout the evening and once those polls close.
Our teams are also in New York with the heated race for the presidency. CBS 13's Jamie Yukas is with the Donald Trump campaign. But let's go ahead and start our team coverage with Weijia Zhang and the Hillary Clinton campaign.
Early indications are that voter turnout has been strong, and Hillary Clinton got out early herself to cast a ballot.
As we bundle our children to keep them warm and safe during these bitterly cold days, the I-Team learns a thick coat and a car seat can be a dangerous combination. I-Team reporter John Chrysos is live outside now to show us why. John?
Well, there is a lot to think about every time you get behind the wheel, especially this time of the year in the winter. We know that before you take off, you need to clear all the snow and the ice off your car. But what you may not think about is the precious cargo in the back seat. Experts are telling us that a thick winter coat like this one on your child, you don't want that on. They say that that can be a dangerous combination, the car seat and that thick winter coat.
Hate it. I thought winter was done and over with.
Not so much. The start of spring snowed out. A coastal storm brings slushy, slick roads to kick off the season.
In Buxton, a school bus full of kids got stuck in a ditch during this morning's mess. Just one of the stories we're following tonight from our Weather Authority team spread across southern Maine.
Yeah, let's go ahead and start with Chief Meteorologist Charlie Lepresti. Though, Charlie, this storm was a bit more than we had first expected.
That's right, Greg. A lot of towns, especially along coastal York County, coastal Cumberland County, a lot of those zones saw a few inches more than originally anticipated. It was a tricky forecast heading through the weekend because we were on the edge of this sizable storm.
All right, Charlie. Well, a Bonnie Eagles school bus packed with students went off the road in Buxton this morning.
Now, many people are questioning why school wasn't canceled there. As CBS 13's Lexi O'Connor explains live, the superintendent is apologizing to parents. Lexi.
Yes, the superintendent didn't want to go on camera, but he did post this statement on the school's website apologizing for not canceling school today. And he says he just didn't realize that the area would get as much snow as they did.
Very exciting day. This is something that it was an idea that my mom had almost 2 decades ago.
History made as President Obama creates the country's newest national monument in northern Maine.
The co-founder of Burt's Bees donated nearly 88,000 acres of former logging land, which will now be preserved forever as part of the Park Service.
CBS 13's Marissa Bodner reports on the impact and those both cheering and jeering this announcement.
This is the most egregious case that I've seen in my career.
I heard bad dog, then I heard boom, yelp. And it sounded like he threw the dog up against our wall.
Disturbing allegations tonight. Police and neighbors are shocked after a Brunswick man is accused of abusing his 1-year-old dog.
Officers say the man beat the animal for minutes and threw it against the wall. And a warning here, the details in this case are difficult to hear.